And now, ladies and gentlemen, Skywalker.
Thank you, Big Jim Edwards. And thanks for tuning in to Radio Memories, sponsored by Audio Girl Productions. Devastatingly effective for all of your production needs. Check them out today at audiogirlproductions.com. And what a great show we have for you today. Radio veteran and superstar. She's been from San Francisco, Indianapolis, where she started out, but she's been all over the country. And she's worked with so many, and I was lucky enough to work with her. We had a great time, and so many have had the honor and pleasure of working with her. She is a very talented lady, and she is here to share her radio memories. Checking in with our beautiful friend, Crystal McKenzie, and radio veteran. It is so good to talk with you, Crystal. It's so good to see you.
It's great to see you. And this technology is beautiful, isn't it? That we can just hang out like this and look at each other again. Ken and Barbie are back together. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. People used to call us Ken and Barbie.
Back in the day. Now we're just the old versions of Ricky and Lucy.
I love it. Good to see you, my brother in broadcasting.
Oh, it's so good to see you too, Crystal. How are you?
You know, I'm doing really well. I was working at Q95 and really living my dream there for a while. Q95 is WFBQ in Indianapolis. That's the flagship station of Bob and Tom, the Bob and Tom show. So I followed the Bob and Tom show in the building, you know, and being around their studios, being with them all of the time, getting to know all of those guys, it was just an absolute dream come true for me. So in the middle of all the COVID and the riffs, as they called them at iHeart, reduction in funds, I guess. I don't know, but they took my salary and let me go. They took our boss's salary, our production. I was the production director. They, took all of that. They had just given me the raise, and I got the stripes and all the stuff that you fight for, And then also,
but you were on the Bob and Tom show quite a bit, weren't you?
Well, no, on the local block. They have that national show, and I never did get to fill in or anything like that. But I would like to now. I mean, it's still not out of the question. So the Bob and Tom show is still sitting there, and they still need content. So, and they're my good friends. So whatever I can do to help those guys. If Christy goes on vacation, perhaps I could fill in on just those kind of things,
Right.
But that was a dream come true because I came back home. I'm from Indianapolis, and I started my career in that building there at 6161 Fall Creek Road, where they are. And so I ran the God Squad when I was 17 years old, like we all did, and the religious programming on Sunday morning. And then sure enough, I, got promoted one day and got an air shift at Q95. And that got me my first job in Orlando, Florida. At BJ 105, WBJW. That's where I knew Daryl Hammond, who went on to become the great Daryl Hammond from Saturday Night Live. He was part of the morning show, just the voice character guy on the morning show at the time. So it's really cool to work with someone that went on and made it. Anyway, back to me.
Well, yeah, back to you.
Enough about Daryl Hammond, back to me.
Yes.
Then from there, Jeff McKee is a guy that I ended up working with in Raleigh, North Carolina. He was Jeff Cohen, and it was a competitor of mine or of ours rather, in Orlando. So when he got this morning show job in Raleigh, I wanted desperately to work with him. It was like working with a comedy hero, and I got that opportunity, which was amazing. We called ourselves McKee and Mike in the morning, and Mike, I was the girl Mike. Then from Raleigh, I went back home. I got married, did the whole thing, went back to work at WZPL for many years doing middays here in Indianapolis. And then the divorce and California came a calling. And that's when I went this color blonde and moved my ass to California, which was like a total dream. I just went ahead and I was like, gosh, if I'm going to live through this divorce, which was like just, so depressing. And so, it's just an
Sure.
awful thing to go through.
Well, we've all gone through it.
I might as well throw the second most stressful thing in life in and move across the country. But that was a great thing that I did. I'm so glad I moved out to California. I learned different political ways of living. I learned, I'm born and raised in Indianapolis, and so very conservative, and then be living right there across the pond from Berkeley, California, is so then that helped me out in a job that I got later in life, which, from there I went to Kansas City. I worked in Kansas City. I worked with you in Tucson for a while. In California, I worked in Sacramento, San Francisco, then back to Sacramento with you.
I worked with you in Sacramento and in Tucson. Yeah.
In Tucson, yeah. Then we went to Tucson, and then I got the XM deal, and I worked really, really hard to get that. And it was just one of those deals where I was at a radio convention, and I ran into Lee Abrams, and I used to run a little radio. Remember back in the day when we used to make the phone calls, and we called ours Blair Research, and I happened to remember that, and I walked up and blew his mind by just reminding him that he came up with this little company called Blair Research, and we were like the phone callers, that did the music research.
Yeah.
And then we got to talking, and he hired me for the 80s channel. Well, I mean, it took a year or two, but we finally, got that deal done. And then what was it, maybe 3 years into XM, they did their first round of layoffs. And that was another one where it's like, oh, in the heart, it's like, oh man, this one I loved, because it was nothing to walk out in the hall and see Crosby, Stills, and Nash just standing there. Or, I was sitting in the 80s studio, and Mike Reno from Loverboy walked by, and I'm like, I'm the 80s studio, I run after him. I'm like, what do I have to do? Flash you? He's like, no, I'm going to keep going. Flash me, but like, you have to. But I got him to come in and sing. Remember the song he did with Ann Wilson, Almost Paradise? I got him to sing that just a cappella in my studio with me, just really cool radio that we were trying to do there at XM. So the XM thing went for 3 years, and then I went on to Madison, Wisconsin, honey, which was the coolest thing, where I know Madison, far, far left thinking, and little old me from Indiana comes in there and works with the loudest mouth in all of Wisconsin, let alone, the capital, the loudest political mouth, and very left-leaning. It's Sly, John Sly Sylvester. So Sly and I it was a match made in heaven, because I wouldn't be afraid to just go, bless your heart. Why you're just so angry all the time. You're just, oh, poor little peapod, and it was a great he loved it. He loved what I brought to the party,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what my political thinking might have been. And so that was one of my favorite jobs that I ever had, outside of doing really fun morning shows like with you. I love morning radio. So you and I had some real fun on our morning shows. So
what's really interesting is somebody that did something really nice for us when we were doing mornings together is Ron Dante, who did Sugar.
Archie, from the Archies. Yeah.
Yeah, from the Archies, because he, out of the blue, sent us a complete song of Schuyler and McKenzie.
And McKenzie, yeah. Yeah, the guy who sang Sugar, Sugar for the Archies, yes.
As Sugar, Sugar, and it went Schuyler, dun, 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 and McKenzie, dun, 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 dun. They are your morning show, and he completely did that for us just out of the kindness of his heart. And I still have that CD someplace. I've got.
Who else I met there in Sacramento was the guy that did Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Oh yeah.
Patsy and Elmo. Elmo was a veterinarian, and I believe it was with you. He came in. I know he did on my first run in Sacramento, that second run in Sacramento at Magic or wherever we were. I'm pretty sure he came in too, but he has kids with him, and it's usually like right around Christmas, and they sing Grandma. But he's a veterinarian, and he and Patsy were divorced many, many years ago, and they split the royalties on that. But I did ask him, I was like, are you in like six figures when it comes to the royalties for Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer? And he wouldn't tell me. I was just like, just tell me it's at least in the early, six figures. I'd love to hear that. People with money don't talk about money.
Well, I think when they don't say, I think that basically is your answer.
One can only hope. He's a veterinarian. He deserves that. That's a cool little song.
Oh, yeah.
The royalty deal. So, then after Madison, this beautiful thing happened to Q95. And I've been, I moved back down from Madison to about 6 hours south, back home. And I've been here ever since. And that was back, I started at Q95 in 2015, and then they let me off here for the pandemic. So I'll be back at it here soon. I can't wait to get back on the radio, but I am doing some voice
you have
stuff.
been on the radio for so long. Can you recall, some of the craziest things that have happened to you in your career, some of the craziest stories? I mean, I can remember one of the craziest things that happened to us when we took some listeners in a limo.
Yeah.
One of our first concerts, and they were, it was an oldies concert, so they were old.
I remember
at that point they were already oldie artists, and I think it was Rick James, and you and I first go on stage and we introduced the artists, and the first one I think on stage was Rick James. I think it was Rick James, and I can't recall.
Great.
But anyway, he comes up on stage and he's pretty fucked up, and he says, "Hey, it's great to be here, Seattle." And it was you who goes on stage, and you said, "It's Sacramento."
You stand corrected, sir.
Yeah, and the audience is screaming Sacramento, but I can't remember if it was Rick James or not. I don't want to, because it was so long ago, and I'm so old now. I don't remember who did.
I have great stories like that, Sweet Pea. I've been to so many. I did get to bring on Metallica recently.
Did you?
Here in Indianapolis. Now that's pretty amazing.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, So, I mean, as far as the star thing and being around a lot of celebrities, it was all during.
I remember one time Casey just comes out, and Casey was really pudgy at later in life, and he just comes and he goes,
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. I mean.
You are bad.
He eloquently, no, in all honesty, he eloquently stands up, and it didn't seem as bad as it was, but we were all laughing at the time, because Casey used to be a very, Harry Casey from Casey and the Sunshine Band, and he used to be a thin, very thin, svelte, guy, and he comes out and he just goes, it's almost like I'm your boogeyman. Oh man, not so much anymore, are you, Casey?
But yeah, that was really that was horrifying. I can't remember. I mean, I have done some great emceeing of concerts, and I've always felt really lucky, like right before Davy Jones of the Monkees passed away, we were able to bring him on stage and interview him, and and I'm just glad I've been able to live some of that history. I've hung out a lot with great rock and rollers like Keith Richards. I got to have some dinner with those guys.
I did too. I had dinner with Keith Richards and Charlie Watts. Oddly enough, do you know where? In Madison, Wisconsin.
You are kidding. Maybe we could buy our own radio station. Let's do that.
People are buying their own radio stations now. You know why? Because they're going for dirt cheap.
Yeah, are they?
Bargain basement prices. Get your own radio station because you can't make any money off these things anymore.
Yes, you can. Oh, believe me, I was making very good money at Q95, and there are those jobs where you can double your salary in endorsements and those kind of opportunities. And that was happening for me, man. I mean, that's a fantastic thing, So, and I didn't feel like it was surprising to me that these people could go sell it. It was surprising to me because there's so many opportunities, but then iHeart is also in the digital game, and they're in the podcast game, and so there's all kinds of things to sell.
And that's exactly and that's exactly what they're pushing. And that's and see, that's what I don't think people are realizing is what terrestrial radio now or terrestrial television is pushing is the digital platforms.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not realizing that at this point, then you're missing what's coming up. Because terrestrial radio and television is not long.
Well, I got to tell you, Dave, I disagree with that because I was in Washington, D.C. over 9/11. And when you are living a real national emergency in the nation's capital, what you would expect is like a great big military type town situation. It turns into a military town, which it did. But where did I go? I went to local freaking radio to find out what was going on at the Capitol, who was saving who at the Pentagon. You have to have your radio.
That so many radio stations that were automated during that period of time that people could not get information from their local radio stations. And that's what was so sad is people tried to go to their local radio stations and
I can assure you,
that information.
WJFK in Washington, D.C.
But it's interesting how it's all changing, though. It really is. It is changing, and we can see it changing.
I have lived in California. I've lived in D.C. I've lived all over these, 11 cities. And always far away from my family. And it just does my heart so much good to be here. I love it down here, though. These mountains, I start talking just like them.
It's nice to know that you're enjoying life. And I don't know what your next, I don't know what your next.
I might be a flight attendant. I'm thinking about being a flight attendant. Wouldn't I be great at that? And then I get my.
I think you would be a great flight attendant. But
you know, and my travel thing. I mean, my boyfriend's taken me to 16 countries in 7 years, 8 years now that we've been together. Yes.
Did you say 16 countries?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I've been to Thailand. I've been to, he took me to Australia. We went.
Well, and what your ex-husband?
Reef. I mean, all these bucket list things.
Your ex-husband.
And I'm working on 60 years old.
Your ex-husband.
I'm gonna be 60. I better be doing it.
Your ex-husband barely took you to 16 restaurants. So I mean, wow.
You were trying so hard to get that out, and I kept interrupting you like the old days.
I was trying to get my bit in. I was just trying to.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. He took me. We went diving in the Great Barrier Reef. We did like just some bucket list stuff. We Thailand was something I've always wanted to do. That was spectacular. We got a bungalow. And it's very, if anybody does world traveling, the cheapest trip I've ever taken is Thailand, the most beautiful. And the people bow to you when they talk to you, and it's nothing but respect. And they love Americans. And I befriended so many people over there. I cannot wait to go back. That's one of my favorites. But Costa Rica's really cool. He took me over to Hong Kong to experience China and Hong Kong, which is as close to China, as I've gotten so far, but absolutely incredible. Very happy people in that part of the world.
Oh gosh, Crystal, if I could tell you the trips, I just went to Chinatown here in LA.
Ben, they're very happy people.
Oh, I also went to Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, baby.
Wow. I can't tell you what kind of excitement. And there's all kinds of happy people from all over the country. I met people from Beijing.
Oh my God, I love it. Beijing. That's a place that I do when I go. I want to go to Shanghai. That airport at Shanghai is supposedly like one of the most amazing things. Like I think you can rent a pod. Like now that I do all this traveling, I'm always looking for a really comfortable place in the airport to sleep. Because sometimes you have to spend the night in airports and stuff, like when you're flying standby, because you don't always make the flight you think you're going to make. So,
Oh
if
yeah,
you could
yeah.
imagine.
Well, when I have friends come and stay at the house, I have a sleeping bag. So
You haven't changed a bit.
Where's the guest room, Dave? What's right here? The sleeping bag. I just unfold the sleeping bag and.
Dave and I one time broke a couple of rules, man. We were sitting maybe having a cocktail.
Only a couple? Only a couple.
And you said, "Hey, let's go take over the radio station as Ricky and Lucy." And it wasn't the radio station we worked for. It was another radio station that was in the same building.
And it was a sister station of one of the radio stations that we were doing mornings at. Yeah. I don't know why I had this crazy idea. Let's go take over the AC station.
Yeah, it was a hot AC. And we just we were doing jam and oldies, remember?
Yeah,
it was more of a
we were doing the morning show, right, on a jam and oldies station for the company. But we were out on a Saturday night. You and I were just having drinks, having dinner.
And we love radio so much. I mean, that's how much we love radio. We're like, hey, we're out partying. Let's go take over a radio station with Ricky and Lucy. Just this team that just showed up. And it was fun. We played phone calls. Like, once you've been in radio a few years, you all know that you can walk in and just run any board. And that's what you did. You just walked right into Y10. What was it? Y106?
Y92.
Y92.
Y92. Yeah. Yeah.
You just walked in. We told the part-timer. This part-timer's like on the air. We're like, oh yeah, the PD said it was cool. Have a great night. They're off. You'll still get paid.
He doesn't know the difference. And we just took over the radio station. And so we took over on a Saturday night and we went on as Ricky and Lucy and we took over the radio station and we just started putting people on the air and playing the show. We didn't even follow the playlist. We started playing our favorite songs.
Playing our favorite songs and again, you got to ask for forgiveness, not permission. In that particular example, was perfect.
And we didn't get in trouble, or
we thought you'd like it.
We got no trouble at all.
I didn't think so. Yeah,
no,
that's what I was going to ask. Yeah, just a real cool little couple of radio geeks want to take over the station.
We had a great time. We had a great time. Crystal McKenzie, it has been such a pleasure, and I'm so glad you found the time to be here on Radio Memories, because you are a radio veteran. You have been around the block a couple of times, as I have.
You're one of my favorite radio memories, man. I mean, we were like brother and sister.
Yes. Yes, we were.
And it was Ken and Barbie. People called us Ken and Barbie. I love it.
When we were younger, we did look like Ken and Barbie, and it was, it was very nice, and it was a very nice compliment, and at the time, and as we all get old, and it's nice to know that you haven't aged a bit. And,
I'm menopause Barbie now.
and now I'm just an old Ricky Ricardo. So, for God's sakes, I look like an old.
Setting this whole thing up, we did the whole thing as Ricky and Lucy.
I should be wearing a.
We did this whole thing as Ricky and Lucy.
A Cuban T-shirt and smoking a Cuban cigar, for God's sakes. But
I mean, one of the great partnerships of all time, Ricky and Lucy, and we always likened ourselves to them, Ricky and Lucy. It was like, because you always wanted me to stand out and be that Lucy standoutishness. Go ahead and do it. I'm not going to steal your sunshine. Don't you steal mine. Remember, we used to listen to that song all the time.
Yeah.
We just had this really cool, healthy, I think rather healthy partnership. And I found a couple of other partners in the meantime, but when it comes to doing morning radio, you got to really trust the person on the other side,
You do.
You
You
got to,
do.
and you got to know they love radio as much as you do, and they want to get it
Yes.
right like you do. And you were absolutely that. I love you, dude.
I love you too, Crystal. And let's talk again. Let's chat again because I really want
Yes,
to get together again and see what's going on in your life and
yes.
hopefully you get another great gig and I hope all goes well with you in your life.
Thank
And
you.
Crystal, until we talk again, take care of yourself.
God bless you, David.
Right back at you, Crystal. And coming up next time on Radio Memories on March 30th, which will wrap up March. And then we're going on vacation until June. But we've got such a great show because we're doing our little March Madness with all crazy things that we've done on the radio over the years. And we've got some crazy stuff to play for you. And we've got our correspondent, Brian Roberts, and he's got some great stories and some other great stories and some, clips that we're going to play for you to end off March. So I hope you join us next time for some more great radio memories.
Check out past interviews on the Radio Memories YouTube channel and on Spotify. Click the links. This is Maggie McKay for Radio Memories, a Dave Schuyler production.
Radio Memories.